Alright, welcome back to the series. Today we are diving into how to master HTTP and API samplers for REST API testing. If you followed along with the last video, you have already have your thread group ready. So now we are going to make those threads talk to a real backend using a free public hosting testing service called JSONPlaceholder. So we will use this as an example site for sending the API request, and here is my JMeter opened. So let's jump straight to it. So when you want to test this REST API, you need to first make sure that you have a thread group, and if you want to check out my other video on thread groups, you will understand these most important thread groups like the ultimate and all those different thread groups, concurrency, arrivals thread group. So add any thread group that you prefer, and then right click on the thread group and then add this sampler. So when you click sampler, you have all these different types. So select the HTTP request sampler. So this is the main component that sends request to your web server, whether it is google.com or any API site or any API call. So to add one, we have added this HTTP request here, and then you can see all the details. So we need to enter the exact server details that is here on the screen. So give this HTTP sampler a clear name. You can give, so this is a get HTTP request, so you can name something like any name you can give here. So get to do data, because this is a get request and we are going to fetch the to do data. Now under the web server section, look at the server name. So here we have this sample website, which is the JSON placeholder. So just server name. Do not include any HTTP or HTTPS. Just type the domain name. In the protocol field, you need to select HTTPS here, and most of the time it is HTTPS or HTTP if you have HTTP, and then the domain name. And for the protocol, we have the HTTPS and the domain name, and the port number you can just leave it blank, because JMeter automatically when it sees the HTTPS, it automatically routes the HTTPS traffic through the port 443. So you can mention it or you can leave it blank, and JMeter automatically routes it because we have here the HTTPS secure port. And moving down the form to configure the endpoint. So select your method. So this is the HTTP request method. So we have a lot of methods. So we are going to use the get request. So you can also use the post, head, delete, patch, and these are the popular ones: put, post, delete, patch, get. So in this demo we are going to use the get request, which is the method. So select this from the drop down. So here we have the set. In the path field, you need to enter /to_do/1. So what JMeter will do is you will concatenate this path. It will attach it to the end of this and send the final request as JSONPlaceholder.typicode.com/to_do/1. So we can go to this example site and see how it actually works. So here is the example get request that is we are configuring in the JMeter. So we have set the protocol as the HTTPS and the domain as this JSONPlaceholder.typicode.com. and look at this is the path, the actual path of the URL that comes after the domain. So here we have the /to_do/1. So we have this as /to_do/1. So that is the path. So when you run the test, JMeter is going to concatenate this domain and then add that path, concatenate, add it to the end of the domain, and then it is going to send. So it's going to form this entire URL. So that is what we have here: HTTPS, domain name, and then after comes here, and then it is going to do a get HTTP request. So that is how it works. So we have everything ready. So often REST APIs need specific headers. So sometime your header might have tokens, or you need to, the most popular one is the content type header. So you need to add those, and you can do that by right clicking on the HTTP request, and you can see the name is get to do data, and right click on it and then add, and select the config elements. So config element, so you see a lot of these. So we have here the HTTP header manager, so click on that, and this is what we use. So you can see when you click on that, you can see the name value pairs. So this is the data that we send in the header. So you can add as many headers you want. So click on the add button at the bottom, and then I'm going to add the popular content type header, which is the most common default, most popularly used one. So content type, what is this content? We are sending a get request to this API. So what happens? What is the response we get? Let's run this script and see. So we get a JSON response. So that is our content type. So content type is application/JSON. So that is the value we should give for this, because that is a JSON response we get. So that's what we are adding here. So this is a single request, and we have the header content type as application JSON. And because we placed this HTTP header manager as a child of the HTTP request, notice that. So this is the HTTP request, and this is a child of it. So when you run this test, it is going to attach this header to the request and then send the request. So whenever this request runs, this header is going to be first looked into. So we have this information here. So JMeter is going to attach the header and then do the get request. So let's do a quick sanity check. Before we run the test, we need a way to see the result. So how do we know whether the test is working? So we need to add a listener. So right click on the thread and then go to the listener, and the popular one I always use is the view results tree, because we can see the request and the response that we get, the request that JMeter sends and the response we get. So we have this view results tree. So this listener, as I said, lets you inspect the raw request and response data. So we have the setup here ready to run. So you can choose any thread group here, and we have all the things set up and ready to go. So let's save this test plan and see what happens and when we run the test. So click the green arrow and click on the view results tree, and you can see the many requests going on successfully. So you see the green, and let me stop and let's look at the results. So you can see here the request is sent, and if you carefully look at it, the content type we added has been attached to the request header, and then the request body is a get request. And look at how JMeter concatenated and constructed this entire URL, HTTPS, domain name, and the path. And when it sent the request, you can see what is the response we got, and we got the response type in JSON format. This is the header information, and you can use it for troubleshooting, and you can see where the request is coming from, the Cloudflare, and all those technical details, content length. So you can verify this if you want. And the important one is the response body, and you can see how the response is the same, exactly the same, and it is good, just like we tried in our script. So the response is the user ID 1, completed false, and all those things, ID 1, and you see the same response. So we had a successful run here. So this is how you need to make your API call, REST API call, and it was running very fast, and I put some random values here, but you need to set up properly. So watch that video so you can understand these various popular thread group and configure, and that's how we did it. So if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and coworkers so they can understand how to use the JMeter to set up this HTTP requests and I will see you in the next video.